I remember when I first got here and I went to the supermarket and no one told me that Faro was a fancy supermarket.
Yeah.
And I went to Faro and I was like, oh, this is a beautiful supermarket. And I think I bought 3, like as I called them at the time, sweet potatoes.
Right, yeah.
And I now call them kumara. Bought 3 of them and it cost me $22. And I was like, holy
God, the
shit.
prices in this country.
I was like, wow.
Someone needed to point you to Mount Albert Pack and Save.
Yeah. So. Don't worry, that's exactly where I shop now.
Yeah.
Money, I just can't get enough.
With me today, I have broadcaster, author and social media star Bree Tomasel, currently starring in the latest series of Taskmaster NZ. There's actually a lot of things I could have put in that intro, Bree. So, look, great. Kia ora, thanks for being here.
Kia ora, thanks for having me.
How would you describe your job if you were telling a child?
Oh, my God. It'd be quite difficult to describe, I think, but pretty much in a nutshell, I talk shit for a living. Yeah. I think that encompasses everything I do, or I'm a shit-talking hustler.
Right. Yeah. That sounds like a gunslinger or something.
I think I definitely would describe myself as a hustler in the way of I'll do anything and give everything a try.
Yeah.
And it's never about the money, but it's always about the experience, although the money does help sometimes.
Sure. I mean, straight off the bat, are you good with money? Are you a spender or a saver? Or?
Yeah, it's so interesting you ask because I feel like a lot of people look at me and they think that I would be bad with money.
Yeah, maybe they think that you'd just be out having fun with the money.
Totally.
Yeah,
which I mean, look, there has been things in the past, Liam, where it would give me a reputation that I'm not great with money, like buying a car sight unseen or a Venute, actually. I've bought a few different cars where I haven't actually seen them.
Right, yeah.
All for content.
Are you just trusting? Or?
Yeah. No, it's for content. It's for a bit of fun. I've bought personalised number plates for way too much money because it was funny for content, but that's a tax write-off, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's part of the business, I think.
But I would say that underneath it all, I would say I'm actually a really good saver.
Right, yeah.
That's what I think. My upbringing, I grew up in a farming family where we had nothing, and I watched my parents who are really good with money, and I think I learnt a lot from them that when you don't have much, you have to be smart and good with your money.
Sure, yeah. Like, what are your first memories of money in the house, or having money in your hands?
Yeah, that's another interesting one. I think looking back on my childhood, like I said, we grew up with nothing, but we didn't know that. I had a great childhood. Grew up on a farm, was driving cars when I was 7.
Yeah.
Motorbikes. I don't think I wore shoes most of the time.
Yeah. It would have been warm, right? You're in Queensland, is that right?
That's funny you say that. It wasn't warm.
Right.
I grew up in the coldest place in Queensland, a little place called Stanthorpe, similar to the Hawke's Bay.
Right, yeah. So it gets that sort of frosty.
Exactly. Yeah. You need a frost to grow apples or stone fruit, which we grew both. But I feel like my first kind of initial interactions with money was I saw what my cousins had and what we didn't have.
Yeah.
And that'd be stuff like Ozstar, which is, Foxtel.
Right,
We never had pay TV.
Yep.
So I'd look at that and be like, they've got.
And were they city kids? Was that?
They were city kids, yeah. So they were living in Toowoomba at the time, which I mean is city per se, but not like a big,
and I mean, farming, it's often the case that, there's a lot of value tied up in the farm and producing. You just don't have cash. It's just not a lot of cash flow.
Yeah, and I feel like a farming life is not an easy life.
Yeah.
And I think our parents sheltered us as much as they could, and they did a really good job of that when we were kids, sheltering us from the realities of farming. But there was certain things that I think they couldn't hide, and I have memories of my dad because we had a Queenslander, typical house in Queensland where it has a veranda that wraps around the whole house.
Yep.
And I have these vivid memories of my father where we'd have bad hailstorms in Queensland. And this one particular hailstorm rolled through our farm, and within an hour we'd lost 80% of our crop for that year.
It
And
must be devastating if you put all that,
yeah, it literally is your 80% of your whole income for an entire year, plus the damage that a storm like that can cause on a farm. And I just remember my dad on the veranda just crying.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
those memories, I think, were some of the first kind of initial thoughts around,
There's
this
something
is like,
at stake here.
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot at stake,
Yeah.
and yeah, so they were some of my first memories around
Yeah.
money.
Did you get pocket money, or did you have part-time jobs to earn it? Or?
There's a funny story in our family, Liam, where my dad would always say, come out on the farm and, you got to work for your money.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is, great life lessons for kids. And the amount of hours that I worked on that farm and never saw a dime, my dad would turn around and go, see that electricity? That's your wage.
yeah.
You see, this house, the roof over your heads, that's your wage. So we never ever got pocket money, no.
Yeah.
Not in our family.
Yeah, did you ever, did you eventually get out and do outside of school jobs and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, so I went to boarding school when
Right,
I was when I was 15, and I actually forced my parents to send me to boarding school because I was playing a lot of high-level sport, and I didn't even get pocket money when I was at boarding school.
Wow, yeah, so you just had to eat the food they gave you.
Exactly, and things were pretty grim,
Yeah.
on certain weekends, especially as a teenager and at that age, and I went to a private school because I got a scholarship. We couldn't afford to actually, send me to a school of that caliber, but I ended up getting a half sporting, half academic scholarship.
Yeah.
And so I remember being around all these kids, and especially like in grade 12, all of my friends at school were getting their first cars.
Yeah, yeah.
And, one would rock up with a new BMW, and then someone else would rock up with a new Range Rover. And I ended up getting this beat-up old Mitsubishi Mirage as my first car, and I just thought it was the best thing in the whole world. It didn't matter to me,
Yeah, that's great. What was your sport?
Soccer and softball mainly.
Yep.
Athletics when I was younger, did a lot of high jump, long jump,
Yep.
and then kind of, moved into the team sports. But,
Yep.
played at the state and national level for both soccer and softball.
Yeah, I mean, did you ever think about going further professionally there?
I would have loved to.
Yeah.
I would have loved that. Had a few bad injuries when I was in my teenage years. Broke my back.
Yeah.
And that kind of
Sorry, I just caught
yeah. Oh yeah, as you do.
So you're still walking? I mean,
Yeah. Had to learn how to walk again, but
Wow.
did a lot of rehab for that, and that kind of put the handbrake on my big sporting dreams, I think. And it actually brought me into reality of like, there's got to be something more than
that's right. And
a
even
career in
probably going back 10 years or so, women's sports only started to pay better now. So
you're dead right. Even these days, Liam, it's not really,
it's not
a
50-50.
huge lucrative career. So
yeah. So then at school, were you thinking about career and how to make money in life, and were you making career choices around career for what you were studying?
Yeah, to be honest. I was so obsessed with sport. Like, sport was my entire life for pretty much my whole childhood and into my teenage years, and that's what I thought I was going to do. Like, I was destined to be, have a career in sport, and that's what I wanted to be. And I think after having a few bad injuries, it sent me on a different path where I'd always loved to entertain people. I was always the class clown and loved to make people laugh. And I think it wasn't until my last year at uni where there was a mentor there that said you can do an internship as a part of your credits towards your degree.
Yep.
And when he said that I didn't have to go and sit in class and I could get credits for it, I was like, that's a bit of me.
Sure. And was that to a radio station?
And it was, because radio was something that I'd always been interested in, but people always said to me that it was pretty much impossible to do, and they were pretty much right because it took long enough.
It's hard to break into. But what were you studying at uni to
I was studying a dual bachelor in communications.
Right, yeah. So you're in
journalism.
the ballpark of, broadcasting and journalism and
But I'd already done a year of study in something else before moving into that. So
Yeah.
I kind of bounced around for a long time and didn't really know. Yeah, I studied physiotherapy for a year and then was like, oh, this
Sort of
isn't right.
as a sort of carries on from the sport. Doesn't
Exactly
it?
right. You're dead right. And then I was kind of like, I don't know if this is for me and this is something I want to do forever. And then I ended up moving to America for a couple of years and played softball at a college over there.
Right, yeah. Is that a scholarship as well?
A scholarship
Yep,
as well, and did that for a bit and then kind of came home, and that's when I really kind of reassessed maybe real life and
Yeah.
what can I actually do as a job.
Yeah. So what would you say, so you interned at the radio station. What was your first real job?
Oh, my first real job. I mean, I had quite a few jobs when I was at uni because I had to support myself.
Yeah.
My parents helped me out here and there.
Yeah, but that's where you did real part-time work.
Yeah, exactly. My first real job was at a bar.
Yep.
And I was a waitress and a bartender, which I hated. I hated the waitress part.
Yeah.
I found it really difficult and it was quite hard work, and I found that people weren't very nice to me.
Yeah, but you're being paid, so you have to be polite.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas the bartending stuff I quite enjoyed because
Yeah.
I felt like I could, talk to people and
Yeah,
have a yarn
yep,
and
yep.
get to know people's stories, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And so that was a job I had. And then I also worked at a car rental company
Yep.
where I used to, rent out huge, big trucks and all kinds of stuff to people. So I did that for a while through uni.
Yeah.
So a lot of different jobs.
And when you were, I guess you're getting by at uni, but when you first started having some money coming in from jobs, what were your passions? What were you spending it on?
I don't know if I've ever been a big spender, and I feel like there was never a moment for me where I'm like, oh, I actually have money now that I can
Right.
spend.
Yeah.
Like I've never felt like it's clicked for me like that, going from nothing to having a little something.
Yeah.
So I still feel like as soon as I get paid from a job, I'll just be like, okay,
Your
90%.
mindset is to have that backstop.
Totally,
Yeah.
90% goes into saving. And to be honest, that's what I've done pretty much my whole working life is saved, and is the only reason I was able to buy a house a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's your big investment. I mean, if I was talking about your biggest purchase.
Yes.
You've
100%.
got there and done it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was your what would you describe as sort of the first break in broadcasting? Did you sort of click with a job that sort of got you on air?
Not really.
Yeah.
I think I grinded for, 6-7 years where I was working at a radio station in Brisbane, Nova 106.9, and I managed to get my foot in the door as a street team member, which a lot of radio people start out on the street team, which I loved it.
Is that driving the branded car to the beach?
Exactly.
And people and all that stuff?
Yeah. And it was awesome. I absolutely loved it. And I was doing shifts here and there, but it wasn't enough to support myself after I finished my degree. And I ended up doing every job at that radio station that I could do.
Yeah.
And I kept going into the boss saying, do you have anything else? Like, I'll do this. I'll come in on weekends. I'll clean toilets. I'll do anything if I can just stay here in this business. And I ended up, I think I've done every job in radio imaginable. And I love that I have, because I feel like it's given me a really good sense of what everyone in the business does. And I appreciate every job within radio.
What it takes to put together the whole thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
You're sort of getting there in Australia. When was the leap to New Zealand? Because we're always curious because, there are a few Aussies in this newsroom, but, it usually goes the other way.
Yeah, people always say to me, they're like, normally we're going there and you guys aren't coming here. I'd gotten my first full-time role in radio. I was working at a station on the Central Coast, which is just outside of Sydney.
Yeah.
And I was doing a full-time breakfast show there. And I'd been there for, I think, 3 years. And we were rating really well and doing really well. And I get this call out of the blue from someone in New Zealand who said, we want to offer you a job on National Drive on a station called ZM.
Yeah.
And I actually knew the station. I knew it quite well because Jace Hawkins used to do the drive time slot that I'm now in. Yeah. And he was one of my radio heroes growing up. I listened to him on Brisbane radio
Yep.
when I was coming up through high school. So I'd listen to Jason PJ, which is the show we took over from.
Yep.
And I was like, I know the exact station you're talking about and I know who we're replacing because I knew that they had gotten an opportunity to do a breakfast show in Melbourne.
Yep. Yep.
And so, so I pretty much for the first time in my whole life, I got poached to come and do a job, which felt pretty good.
Yeah.
It felt really good. And I told them no about 6 times because I was too scared.
Yeah.
And eventually they convinced me and I came over and it was the best decision I ever made.
It's great. But were you conscious of the economic, like we're always, we're generally complaining here about not being as rich as Australia.
Yes.
And were you conscious at that time from Australia that, famously the wages aren't as good here and all that sort of stuff?
Oh, mate, not me. I'm not that smart. I was 27 and all I cared about that I was getting paid. I was going to get paid more money here than what I was.
And it was going to be stable, I presume. If they've poached you, then
Yeah, you'd hope so. The contract looked really good to me and it ended up being, I remember when I first got here and I went to the supermarket and no one told me that Faro was a fancy supermarket.
Yeah.
And I went to Faro and I was like, oh, this is a beautiful supermarket. And I think I bought 3, like as I called them at the time, sweet potatoes.
Right, yeah.
And I now call them kumara. And I think there was something else. Anyway, bought 3 of them and it cost me $22. And I was like, holy
shit. The prices in this country.
I was like, wow.
Someone needed to point you to Mount Albert Pack and Save.
Yeah. So. Don't worry, that's exactly where I shop now.
Yeah. Great. You settled into the radio role and made a success that, but you've also really grown the multimedia part, right? So is that, getting on TV for starters, but also social media? I'm interested in how you put together a sort of because a modern media career often is juggling all these different things, right? It's not sort of, I guess, because of the way the media is fragmented and companies have different things. Was that always a goal to sort of spread out from radio, or when did it occur to you that you could do that?
Yeah, that's such an interesting question and something that I thought about before coming in to talk to you actually. I remember back in 2015, so that's a fair while ago now, 10 years ago, I definitely had the thought of wanting to broaden my skills and give myself more opportunity. And I remember talking to one of my friends who was creating videos on social media, and back then it was on Facebook. We're going back 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to her being like, this is something I want to do. And 10 years ago, I was like, this is something that I can have that's extra, an extra feather in my cap.
Yeah.
And at the time I was doing it because it was an outlet for me to create content that I couldn't do on radio. And it was also something that was just mine.
Yeah.
Which I really liked, and I think back then the goal was to have fun and create things that, that people enjoyed and people liked. And then as time has gone on, obviously there's a lot of opportunity in terms of paid posts and creating some income.
It's got more commercial, hasn't it?
Yeah,
I was
totally.
going to ask, is it lucrative? Can you build a career as a social media creator, I guess is the word, yeah.
I think absolutely you can. I don't envy the people that's the sole thing that they do because I think it is quite difficult, and I don't know if I would I'm not the type of person that I think I could sit quite comfortably not knowing when my next paycheck was coming.
Yeah.
But the people who do it are very, very good at it, and it is lucrative, and there is great opportunity to make some good money. And I think it's been interesting to see how it's evolved over the years, and it really has. I remember one of the first paid posts that I did, there was no contracts, there was no real discussion around exactly what the deliverables were, whereas these days, you get a full contract, this is what we expect, these are the points you need to hit. And I think the people who are really good at it, if you can turn it into something that your audience will enjoy and stay genuine and true to yourself, then it can be a really good business model.
Yeah. What's been your trick for I mean, outside of the paid stuff, but for connecting with people.
Yeah.
I gather that you talk a lot with your mum on your feed.
Yeah, she's been avoiding me actually. It's probably because I give her a hard time. No, I think what it comes down to, Liam, for me, I mean, I'm no expert, but what I do know is that the stuff that connects with people from my experience is the stuff that's real and honest.
Yep.
And I think social media, especially these days, when you watch something and you can't tell if it's real or not, then it probably generally isn't.
Yeah.
And I've never swayed from, wanting to be, genuine and honest in the stuff that I create.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that I enjoy.
Just something that's authentic. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And making it authentic is, I think, the key for me.
And also TV. Tell me about the leap to TV. I mean, one of the advantages, I think, maybe in New Zealand sometimes is it is smaller. So you get into broadcasting here and, you find connections and networking and things.
Yeah, that was an accident. I'd never set out to be like, I want to be on TV and, host shows and do this and that. And maybe it was because I never saw anyone like me on TV growing up. So I never had those aspirations or those goals. And it was kind of an accident, like Celebrity Treasure Island, which has been one of the greatest opportunities I've had, I think, since moving to New Zealand. And I'm so grateful for it because I feel like it definitely has made me a more well-rounded performer.
Yeah.
And has added, like I said, another feather to my cap, and I've learnt so much. But yeah, I remember it was back in 2019 and they said, this show's coming back. And I'd never heard of it before because I didn't live in New Zealand when it was, the first time around. And they asked me if I wanted to audition to be one of the contestants.
Right, yeah.
And I said to my boss, and I was like, it's called Celebrity Treasure Island. I was like, no one knows who I am.
The New Zealand bar is a little lower.
Yeah, well, I mean, we always cop it that people don't know who anyone is, but, And I said, I was like, no, thank you. And then he's like, do you want to audition to be the host? And he said, they've auditioned everyone and they've made a decision, but, do you want to just try and get in at the last minute? And I ended up going into this audition and saw Matt Chisholm, who I feel like him and I are just the same chips off the same block.
Right, so you kind of bonded and
we connected straight away, and I feel like the chemistry was instant.
Yeah, and that's important, isn't it? It's got to be,
It comes down to authenticity again, and I think he's a country boy and I'm a country girl, and we just connected on that level, and I think everyone in the room
knew that
felt
it worked.
it.
They could see instantly it worked. Yeah.
So I got lucky.
Yeah, and that. Well, I mean, and I'd say that snowballs, but New Zealand again, TV is a patchy career because it's just. There's only so much going on. Yeah, tell me about Taskmaster. I'm a huge fan. I love the UK one, but I know that the New Zealand one has actually got a real global reach now and is being watched around the world.
The fan base for Taskmaster is incredible. The New Zealand one is held in such high regard around the world. People really, really love the New Zealand version, and for good reason. In my opinion, it's one of the best. Obviously, the UK one was first, and I have loved that show since it started. And to be honest with you, to be a contestant on Taskmaster is an absolute bucket list dream, goal that has been, the real pinnacle for me for such a long time. So to actually be on that show was, dream come true.
I mean, we're talking as this show's about to go to air, so
First
I won't
episode
you
tonight,
won't know spoilers. I won't harass you about how well you did or how horrendous you found the task.
Oh, mate, it nearly broke me. I had to go back into therapy. But, all good stuff, though. All good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, great. Look, I want to get into some of our quick fire questions if I could.
Yeah.
What's the poorest you've ever been?
Poorest I've ever been? Probably, after I finished my degree and because I was getting the benefit from the government for the study.
Yep.
It was from Centrelink in Australia, it's called. So I was getting a bit of rent assistance for that. And then once I finished my degree and I was working in radio, and that's the poorest I've ever been. And a real low moment for me was when I had to call my mum and ask her for $50 to buy some bread and and eggs and stuff, because it was that moment where I had to decide whether I was going to go get a job in, at a newspaper or journalism or PR, or I was going to try and really give this radio thing a go.
Making radio, yeah.
Yeah, and there was a few times I had to call my mum and ask her if I could have $20 to put petrol in the car.
It's good you hung in there though. You could have had to go to PR, or you could have had to go to
I'm so glad I
provincial
didn't.
newspaper somewhere in the middle of Australia or something.
Yeah, well, you're dead right.
Yeah. Great. Well, when you finally, I mean, I know we talked about saving for the house, but when you finally have started to have a decent paycheck from
Yes.
time to time, what's the most indulgent purchase you think you've ever made?
Apart from the house?
Yeah.
Apart from the house.
Because, I mean, a house is a big purchase, but you got to live in it, So.
Absolutely. Most indulgent. Like I said, I'm not a super indulgent spender. I mean, I buy things because it's funny, like the Venute, which is iconic.
Yeah.
Probably the most indulgent thing I ever spent my money on was after the first season of Treasure Island, and I got my paycheck from that. I bought a Moochie leather jacket that I've worn about 4 times.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Hey, but
So nice, but then when you work out the ratio for
it's not
the
practical.
cost per wear.
Cost per wear didn't turn out, Liam. Didn't turn out.
No. Are you someone who still buys lotto tickets, and do you imagine winning lotto?
Absolutely. Who doesn't? You got to have the dream.
How much do you imagine winning? I just ask that because some people, I'm like, I don't like the idea of imagining 20 million because it might ruin my life. But I imagine sort of, winning 850,000 or something, and paying
really?
off the mortgage and having a holiday.
See, well, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Where it wouldn't
It
completely
wouldn't completely
change
upend
you.
your life, yeah.
Yeah, which I mean, I wouldn't mind my life to be completely upended.
You'd take the 20
Hey,
million?
why not?
Yeah.
I feel like I'd be the type of person where I don't think it would change me. Like I honestly don't, but I mean, I could be wrong. I definitely still buy a lotto ticket from time to time. I'm not someone who buys one every week, but when those big big Powerballs come up, what are they? What was the biggest?
I think
one
we've
in
got
New
up to
Zealand?
40 million or something.
40 million?
Yeah,
I'll buy a ticket. Why
Yeah.
not? I always ask this question. It's quite an interesting one, and I always love to hear someone's response. If someone comes up to you and they say, I could give you $1 million right now, it's yours, no questions asked, no tax, or we can flip a coin
Oh, yeah.
and it's a 50-50 shot at $1 billion. What are you doing?
I'm always taking the million. 'Cause I don't know if
I
want a billion.
knew what you were going to say.
Yeah. And
I'm flipping the coin.
And I'll invest the billion, and that's brave. Yeah.
I'm flipping the.
Yeah.
When else, Liam, would you have the chance?
That's true.
At $1 billion.
That's true. Yeah.
I could help a lot of people.
You could do a lot of good with $1 billion. You could really, I mean, look at all the good the billionaires do in the world. I'm sorry, that was big. You could do a lot of good in it.
I feel like I could do it.
Yeah,
good
yeah,
with the billion. Do we have a
absolutely.
coin? Should we flip? Should we see?
We just need the billion. What's the best financial advice you've ever received? That's probably a tough question, but if you think back to people who've been mentors or people who've even you say your parents, but obviously you mentioned getting that savings habit ingrained.
Yeah, totally. My brother, who is a lot smarter than me, he's an engineer. He's for years has been trying to tell me what to invest in and to spread your money here and to put your money here.
All the correct financial management things.
Exactly. And he's so good with it and he does all the right things. And probably that my parents have also taught me as well is to not put all your eggs into one basket.
Yeah.
And I think I've gotten better at that over the years, where if you're going to invest in something, like spread your money across a lot of different things.
Yep.
And I feel like I'm getting better at that as I get older.
And just have if you get everything in the right place, you don't have to go crazy. You just let it tick.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's not about getting rich quick, but it's about, having your money spread wide and making a bit here and a bit there and eventually have everything ticking away and working together.
Sure. If you could go back in time, what's one thing you'd change about your career or your money habits?
Ooh.
It landed pretty well, so I mean,
I think if I could go back in time, I think I'm a very cautious person with money.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably because I'm someone that's never had very much, so then when you do have a little bit, you don't automatically become
Yeah.
someone that throws caution to the wind and spends here and spends there.
Yeah.
So I think if I could go back in time, I would love to be able to buy, and even if that was a little unit, like buy something sooner.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's probably something that I would love to go back in time and change, just because I think it took me such a long time because I am
To get there. Yeah,
so cautious.
Yeah.
But
I hear that a lot from people that, especially if you haven't had a lot of money growing up, that it's just that we're so cautious at the start. If you had the time again, maybe take it. You could take a bit more risk with the investments early on. It's when you're young too that you can sort of take the risk and you've got not much to lose anyway. But
exactly.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. When was the last time you used cash money? Do you still use paper money?
Probably when I went overseas.
Yeah.
I think, and I feel like a lot of people, even though I use, what's that green card that everyone has now? Is it a Wise card?
Right. Traveling. Yeah.
When you're traveling, I feel like it's awesome. Like I really love a Wise card because I feel like I'm not great with looking after my money because I never have cash money.
Yep.
But probably last year I was lucky enough to go to Greece and I had some cash.
Some euro. They're using euro? Yeah.
Euro. Yeah.
Are you a financial goal setter? Do you have targets and goals?
No, but I should.
Maybe. So in terms of I guess you've got a house.
Yes.
That's a goal and achieved. And
totally. I think I don't know if I put numbers on things per se, but my next financial goal is to save enough to be able to put a little extension onto the little house that I was able to buy.
Yep.
That's probably the next big financial goal. And to not sell myself too short and overexert where my mortgage is already through the roof.
So you can do it without having to borrow too much.
I think, and so in terms of goals like that, I think I do set myself certain goals, and that's the next one for me.
Sure. When you think about your career and what drives you in your career, I mean, how much is making money important to you, and how much is the money the byproduct of the success?
I think for me it's probably 70-30.
Right, yeah.
70.
Very specific.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we put numbers on
why not? Yeah, that's a good answer.
I think 70 is, the enjoyment and how happy I am and the experience of, creating something that people enjoy. 70% is that, and 30%, I mean, you have to have some sort of goal when it comes to money and to be able to live. But in terms of me as a person, I didn't grow up with much and I don't need much to be happy.
Yeah.
I think in terms of money goals, to have enough to not be stressed.
Yeah, to have that security.
And to have a little bit of security and I'm happy. I don't need the big flashy car or the big flashy house, but, to be able to buy a house was a huge deal for me, and something I never thought I was going to be able to do.
Yeah.
So to have a house that I can say, I did that, I worked my ass off and I was able to buy
and
that.
actually feel a sense of achievement as well as having somewhere to live. Yeah.
And it's not much. It's a tiny little house that's 100 years old, but it's mine and that makes me really proud. And I don't need much.
No, just that financial stability. I always remember it was actually in a political debate, I think, and Guy and Espiner asks Helen Clark and John Key to define being rich. And Helen Clark does an amazing sociological kind of thing that didn't really resonate with people. And John Key just goes, well, it's not having to worry when the fridge breaks. It's for most people, it's that you can get the fridge fixed or get a new fridge without having to panic,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I feel, God, he was smart, wasn't he?
He was a smart guy.
Smart
Still is
guy.
probably, I guess. He's apart from spending all his time in helicopters.
Hey, you win some, you lose some.
On Prime Ministers, this is actually the last question, but it's quite a big one. It's, when you think about how you'd like to set the world to rights, dealing with social inequality, anything like that really, or issues that you really care about, if we could make you Prime Minister for a day, what would you want to focus on and change?
Shit, you don't end on an easy question, Liam. I mean, look, I don't envy anyone that's in that position. I think you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. I think But what it would come down to for me, and I mean, I grew up in a, like I said, a farming family where we had nothing, and I saw the struggle that my family still goes through. I still see the struggle, that my dad went through his whole career, where you work your guts out and you don't really get a handout or a leg up anywhere.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, what it comes down to is I'd want to help that middle group of people as much as I could. I think there's a lot of people, especially in New Zealand right now, that are struggling.
Yeah.
And I think to be able to give them a little bit of a leg up, what I would love, Liam, is if we could tax the shit out of the 1%.
Yeah.
Right up there at the top.
At the very top, yeah.
Why not? Why not? Let's just tax them through the roof and be able to help all these other people.
Make life a bit easier.
Yeah, help the poorer not
There's
get
a lot of
poorer.
people working long hours and just not getting ahead, and so they're sort of doing the right thing and not getting anywhere, right?
Especially, you're right. Especially, like the single parents, the people who are working 2 jobs and then they get taxed through the roof.
Yeah.
To be able to help those people out and give them a bit of a hand, I think would be amazing. But like I said, it's a very difficult job, and I'm not smart enough to understand it.
Still, if we put you in for a day, and then they get the wealth tax on. Then
you know what I would do if I was in for a day, and what I didn't like that the Prime Minister did, and he tried to cover it up recently, was the bloody surcharges, making it look like, in my opinion, you got to tackle the banks are the ones that need the slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
Because you can't do it to the businesses. You got to go to where the banks are charging them to use that extra feature on their FPOS machines.
Yeah. There's actually, because the Aussies are a lot tougher on the banks and the media. Like, I think we're sometimes seen as a bit
the banks
softer.
get away with a lot here. They're the ones with all the money.
Yeah.
They're not struggling.
Well, they're all owned by Aussies, but
Bloody.
Hey, look, no, that is brilliant. Thanks for coming in, Bree. It's been really fun to chat. So
no, I appreciate you having me. It's nice to I don't get asked all that often about money. But you know what? I don't mind talking about it because I think it's an interesting conversation. You get to know people.
Yeah, and it's a good thing for people to think more about in this country, I think.
Yeah, and something that I wish if I could go back to my younger self, my self in my 20s, is I wish I could shake her to be a bit smarter about money so then I can work a little bit less later in life.
Well, that's it. That's the goal of this thing. So thank you very much. Thanks for being here.
Appreciate it, Liam.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Money Talks. If you want to get in touch, drop me a line at liam.dan@nzme.co.nz, and you can read more from me at nzherald.co.nz. Follow Money Talks on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts, with new episodes available every Thursday. And if you are new to the podcast, you can check out our back catalogue with over 60 guests from across our seasons.